go again?
Oh, no, not again.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
Dom, how long have we been doing this?
Once more unto the breach. Dear friends.
Again and again and again until we're both dead.
Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews, connections in mind. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is directed by Destin Daniel Cretton and stars Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, a martial art prodigy who is the son of a 1,000-year-old warlord who he thought he had escaped the shadow of his father by fleeing to America. However, the past has finally caught up with him, and quite literally the fate of the world is at stake. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of Shang-Chi. I will be keeping those till the end, however. I'll be doing my spoiler-free thoughts first up, but just so you know, there will be spoilers later on in this review. But first, let's get into some spoiler-free thoughts on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Is it a good Marvel movie? Is it worth seeing in theaters? Or are you going to wait until it comes on Disney+? As with any Marvel movie, I would say it's definitely worth seeing in theater if you can. I mean, if you're fully vaccinated, go see a movie already. Yeah, this is no exception. Marvel's had quite the busy year this year with between all the Disney Plus shows, Black Widow coming out, and that whole thing. Now the second of 3 scheduled theatrical releases for Marvel has come out, and as I said before, really any Marvel movie is a spectacle film, and this is one that definitely deserves your attention. Really just for the fights alone, because these fights are, the martial art in this film is astounding, and it really does a great job. Again, there's one fight near the beginning, it's in all the trailers, it takes place on a bus, and that fight is just so much fun and so dynamic. That's such a great fight, just filming wise, choreography, and like they take full advantage of the setting itself. I mean, all the fights in particular look fantastic, and I feel like that's what this film was really designed to do, and it does a good job of it, I think. And really, just as far as the characters go, really the heart of this film is Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, as well as his relationship with Awkwafina's character, Katie. Their dynamic as a pair really is the heart and soul of this film, in my opinion. When they're together, it's just such a fun time, and honestly, I wish there was more of it at this point. Just because they're such a fun pair. I'm looking forward to them working off each other more in future Marvel products. But in this particular adventure, I think they did a good job with that pair of characters. However, the rest of the characters, I feel. Again, this is the problem with a lot of Marvel films, that when you focus so much on the heroes, sometimes these secondary characters and even the villains tend to get a little bit one-dimensional and not get developed nearly enough. I feel like that doesn't happen nearly as much as I thought it would, to be honest, but I feel like it does technically happen, especially with the relationship between Shang-Chi and his father, who we declare is not the same thing as the Mandarin. However, the Mandarin is based off of this man, and he holds the Ten Rings, which are artifacts of great power. And the relationship between him and Shang-Chi is explored well enough, I think. However, by the end of the film, they kind of take a pause on his development, and they really kind of do like a half-hearted thing towards the end. In my opinion, I feel like that was sort of a missed opportunity. They could have delved so much deeper into that and made such a greater conflict and drive of motivation to a certain extent. However, in my opinion, I don't think that really happened. Also, and we'll get into this in the spoiler talk, I can't get into specifics right now. However, I will say, while I think the fights are great, I do think that they lack a certain epicness. And there's not to say that there aren't epic things happening. It's just, in my opinion, they're lacking that special something that makes them epic. And again, I'll talk about that in spoilers talk later on, but for right now, especially in the final fight in particular, I feel like to a certain extent there was a bit of a letdown, at least in my opinion. For others, you might think that this is one of the greatest things ever put to film, or just rendered in a computer. But yeah, there's some things on there that I feel like they could have done a little bit more with. As far as an origin story for Shang-Chi, I think that this is a decent enough job of establishing who he is, and especially establishing the relationship between him and Katie. But I feel like this really does the bare minimum of setting him up, and they're really looking forward to down the road where they can plug him into buddy movies with him teaming up with, again, no spoilers here, but there's one character that pops up from a different Marvel movie that I would love to see him show up, them team up together, and we get a little flavor of it in the end credit scene. However, yeah, I really look forward to that kind of dynamic later on. But in this movie, again, I feel like it does the bare minimum on establishing that. And for origin movies, as far as origin movies go, I would say this is probably at the lower end of the middle of the pack, in my opinion. Just as far as Marvel Origins movie goes. Overall, this film, it has some great moments. I love the things that I love, I really love, but the other things, they just kind of leave me like wanting more and not in a great way. And yeah, I feel like that hurts it overall. And overall, I just feel like this is kind of the good things don't necessarily outweigh the mediocre elements, in my opinion. So definitely go check it out if you can. If you want to wait until Disney Plus, you can definitely do that. However, if I were to give Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings a letter grade, I would say, in my opinion, this is a B-. Yeah, this film just, I really look forward to what they do with this character going forward. But in this movie in particular, I just feel like it didn't give me enough of what I wanted. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now let's get into some spoiler talk as to certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Now, as I said, the first main fight of this movie is on a accordion-style, long elongated bus, and I got great vibes off this from the subway scene, I guess it wasn't the subway, it was the elevated train scene in Spider-Man 2, and that's not, I mean, if you're gonna copy from something, copy from one of the best, because that fight scene is one of the best in all comic book movies ever, and this one I think does a great job of it, and takes full advantage of the setting of it being an accordion bus. I mean, I love the fact that, when the accordion starts to like break in half, and it's like, all right, no, now that becomes a new dynamic of things, and the fact that it's out of control, and you're outfit is swerving around different things and hitting different things. It's just like that's impacting the fight itself. I love that. I love that was a very dynamic fight. What I didn't like about the rest of the fights, even though all the rest of the fights were good, they felt kind of standard compared to that. I feel like they kind of peaked as far as cool fight scenes too early in the movie, which leads me to my second point, where the second major fight scene where they're in Macau, and when they're on the run through that somewhat abandoned building where the Underground Fight League is, and Shang-Chi has to fight this, the made-up, makeup masked assassin or whatever, and they're at like the edge of this this unfinished floor, and you can see this giant electronic billboard in the background, and it's really them fighting with like their silhouettes essentially fighting against this backlit screen, and that reminded me a lot of I believe that was also in Macau, the scene in Skyfall, where James Bond is fighting this one assassin in Macau in this office building, and it's a backlit thing against a gigantic electronic billboard. And again, if you're gonna copy from something, copy from one of the best. Again, that's one of the better fight scenes in the modern Bond pantheon, and yeah, I love that fight as well. but I mean, more for the visuals. But again, all the fights in this movie are technically really cool looking and performed very well and filmed very well as well. And finally, the last point is when they're in the final battle, and the fact that their final enemy is this gigantic soul-sucking dragon, which, again, that's one of those things that's an awesome thing just to say, and then when you see it, and they're having that big dragon-on-dragon fight in the air, and Awkwafina has to, shoot the arrow at the glowing throat and then hits it. That just gave me some real Smaug vibes. Not like Smaug isn't like in the air, but Smaug is in the dragon from the Hobbits. Again, shooting the arrow at the weak point of the dragon. I'm sure that's also in mythology concerning dragons, but again, that's a similar thing as well. What I want to talk about in that fight in particular is, again, the fact that the final battle involves two gigantic dragons fighting each other in midair. One a soul-sucking dragon, the other one a Chinese-style dragon with her dragon riders, Shang-Chi, fighting alongside it. Again, this is supposed to be like this is the most amazing sentence ever, and it should be the most epic thing that I ever saw. And while the CGI looks okay, I feel like it's not conveying an epicness that I feel like that situation requires. And the only thing that I can think of to kind of nail down why I think that might be, is that I've seen this sort of fight happen in traditional hand-drawn animation, and even like in an anime style hand-drawn animation. And in that sort of world, you're not necessarily constrained by the physics of things. You're not constrained by the real world, and so you can give this sort of situation an epic scale. Like, when like you see like a giant creature like flung into the ground, and like it impacts the ground, it looks like a meteor impacted it, like blew up the whole thing. But then you can cut to the next thing, it's like, oh man, that conveyed the impact of it, but really, it's just a gigantic dust cloud, and you're just kind of in a crater there, and that's fine. But in this one, similar stuff happens, but you're sort of bound by physical reality, even though these are fantastical things. Like, obviously, gigantic mythical dragon things don't exist, but the fact that they kind of end up behaving like they're bound by physical reality, it kind of hinders it a little bit. And I feel like they're almost even selective about how they apply physics in certain instances and reality, and it's somewhat distracting. Like at the very end when they're at the memorial and they're dispatching the paper lantern boats or whatever in the memorial. It's a very touching moment, and then when the dragon comes out of the water and swings around, it's supposed to be a great moment. All I'm thinking of is like, you're spraying a lot of water around above these paper lanterns that are supposed to be commemorating the lost souls of these people. Aren't you going to be putting out a lot of those candles? That's kind of a dick move, but yeah, but of course it didn't, because it's supposed to be a touching moment. I don't know. That was just my thought going into that. Really, the other things that I kind of nitpicked were, like, the 10 rings. I mean, they're kind of built up as a sort of thing, but, like, they're kind of lame, in my opinion. They kind of sound like, the way they sound like Sonic rings, when he's flinging them around and ping, ping, ping. It's like, it makes me think of Sonic collecting rings in the game. I mean, granted, that's probably what rings just sound like, but I feel like they could have avoided that, maybe. Also, I feel like Awkwafina, we should have gotten more of Awkwafina, in my opinion. I feel like Shang-Chi, like, her only role in this movie, aside from, her big arc was getting up the courage to fire this arrow at the dragon, but I feel like her only purpose in this movie was to get Shang-Chi to lighten up a little and smile and crack a few jokes. Because every other time that he's on screen, he's deathly serious. And again, he's dealing with serious issues with the family, and dealing with his past, the death of his mother, and the fact that his father's a 1,000-year-old warlord, and his sister has written him off or whatever. Again, these are serious things, but really the fact that Awkwafina feels like her only role is to get him to smile every once in a while, I feel like that's sort of a bummer and discouraging in a way. I don't know, maybe they'll work on that dynamic and it'll be better later on. Like I said, I look forward to him working off of other Marvel projects. Like, I feel like him teaming up with Wong from Doctor Strange would be such a great just buddy movie, and that would work. I think that would be great. I look forward to seeing that, as well as the fact that when Simu Liu's on screen, he just doesn't. He's when he's charming, he's really charming. But when he's serious, he's just kind of bland. I mean, and hopefully they'll work on that later on. I just feel like that's sort of a bummer. And then my last kind of main nitpick is, yes, they go to great trouble to write in how Ben Kingsley's Mandarin was not the real Mandarin. They even put up the Marvel one-shot of All Hail the King explaining that there was actually a real Mandarin in there on Disney Plus to show that, to remind people, yes, this is why he's in this movie. They couldn't at least have explained the relationship between this Ten Rings organization and the Ten Rings organization that took Tony Stark captive in the very first Iron Man. It's like, maybe just a line of dialogue, or it's like, our Afghanistan branch or whatever is doing this. It's like, just one line, explain that. As far as I know, they did not do that. And that's that frustrates me so much. It's like, why? Why would you do that? It's just that, did they also appropriate that image to be terrifying? Were they actually involved? We'll never know. And it's like, that's such a missed opportunity in my opinion. So, if it comes across that I'm like just tearing this movie new one, I don't mean to. I think there's some great things to enjoy in this. Like I said, the Simu Liu Awkwafina scenes are so funny. Those are worth it. It's worth the price of admission just to see those. However, again, I may change my opinion on a rewatch. You never know. But from my standing right now, a couple days removed from seeing it in theaters, yeah, those are overall just kind of a meh experience. But what did you think of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree, disagree? Did I miss anything? I probably missed something. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my upcoming movie reviews, which I believe the next one on the docket is No Time to Die, the last of the Daniel Craig Bond films, coming out October 8th. As well as I'll be doing a full Season 2 review once all the episodes of Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2 are airing. I believe there were 4 episodes down. I think there's 6-ish to go. I don't remember how many episodes they're doing for that, but yeah, look forward for that. If you liked this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. But just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.